from the nation's capital here in Monrovia. A pleasant good afternoon and welcome to King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. I'm Stephen Compton Angary. And in the headlines, former President George Weah institutes 23 men the member committee for CDC News state-of-the-art national headquarters. Construction at the party's leadership threatens legal action against the government for unlawful evasion and demolition of former national headquarters. Vice President Jeremiah Cohn and Nimba County supposedly political godfather Senator Samuel Koga for a part ahead of 2029 general and presidential elections. Koga accuses Cohn of bad influence and unilateral appointment of local officials. And also coming up in the news, Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency Director General suspends with immediate effect the agency's Deputy Director for Operations, Abraham Payne, over leak audio leaking Payne to the release of his daughter, believed to be a drug trafficker. And as well, the head of a Malagasy king killed by French troops during a colonial era has been formally returned to Madagascar. Botswana has declared a public health emergency as it faces shortage of essential medicines and medical equipment. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the bulletin of news. Welcome back and thanks for rejoining us. Up next is the bulletin of news with Newton Topa.
Former President George Weah has instituted 23-member National Headquarters Construction Committee for the construction of the CDC New State-of-the-Art National Headquarters. The committee, headed by former House Speaker Councillor Funati Kofa and by Maggie County Senator Nathaniel Mangill, is expected to ensure the construction of the party headquarters within a year period. CDC, in a special press release issued under the signatures of its political leader George Weah, announced the special committee following the government August 23rd demolition of its national headquarters in Congo Town. The release named former House Speaker Councillor Funati Kofa as chairman, Maggie County Senator Nathaniel Mangill, co-chairman, former Foreign Affairs Minister Ambassador D. Maswell Kimia, advisor and former local boss Eugene Len Langwe, and national coordinator. Others appointed to the committee includes former Public Works Minister Madam Ruth Cockott Collins, who would serve as technical advisor, while Pepsi Yeke, Oliver Kine, Councillor Garrison Yelu, and Acid Do, among others, will serve as members. The release further stated that former President George Weah, the political leader of the party, has mandated the committee to establish subcommittees where necessary and work collaboratively to ensure the completion of the new headquarters within 1 year. At the same time, the former party Congress for Democratic Change has threatened legal action against the Liberian government over what it describes as unlawful eviction and demolition of its former national headquarters. The party's move follows strong public criticism from its political leader, who had accused the administration of President Joseph Walker of interfering in the legal process that led to the controversial eviction and demolition. Speaking on OKFM Monday, former Maritime Commissioner and Chief of Staff to ex-President George Weah, Len Eugene Langway, confirmed that the CDC is preparing to take legal actions against the government to ensure those involved in the demolition are held accountable under the law. Langway noted that the actions of the law enforcement officers during the eviction and demolition exercise violated standard legal procedures, and further argued that the actions by law enforcement officers during the eviction and demolition exercise contravened normal eviction procedures, thus describing it as a calculated political move by the government to denigrate the CDC and undermine its public image. Ahead of 2029 general and presidential elections, Nima County, Liberia's second vote-rich county, political atmosphere appears uneasy as Vice President Jeremiah Cohn and Senator Samuel Cogat fall apart. Cogat, elected in April of this year, replaced Nima County political godfather deceased Senator Prince Johnson at the Liberian Senate. Prior to the burial of Prince Johnson, traditional rituals signaling Nima traditional chiefs and elders' blessings of Samuel Koga, which indicate the turnover of Senator Johnson's traditional title to Koga, was displayed. However, the newly elected senator and Nimba, supposedly political godfather, has accused Vice President Jeremiah Kum of what he calls stepping on Nimba's neck and unilaterally appointing government officials of the county. Speaking in an interview with an online TV, Kogat expressed frustration in Vice President accusing him of exerting control over Nimba County. Koga claimed that despite discussions held between him and the Vice President Kuhn often ignored his recommendations and act independently. Senator Kogat further criticized Kuhn for not involving him in important decisions, stating that as a senator, he should have the authority over the county, not the vice president. Elite audio recording has surfaced implicating Major Abraham Payne, Chief of Operations of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, in a serious case of alleged abuse of power and obstruction of justice in a legal drug-related case. On the evening of August 25th, social media platforms were flooded with shares of recordings. The audio, which began circulating on social media before being confirmed as authentic by law enforcement sources, captures the voice believed to be Payne pressuring a subordinate officer of the LDA office in Carisburg to release several drug suspects who had been detained along the Kagata Highway. Among those mentioned in the recording is a young woman identified as the LDA Chief of Operation daughter, who was reportedly apprehended by LDA officers during an operation in the area. In the recording, the voice allegedly pains is heard threatening and instructing junior officer to release the detainees immediately. The incident has sparked widespread public outrage, prompting civil society organizations, anti-corruption advocates, and concerned citizens to call on President Joseph Boakai to take swift, decisive action against the LDA's Deputy Director for Operations. Several civil society groups have condemned what they describe as a shameless betrayal of public trust, warning that the scandal not only undermines the LDA's institutional credibility, but also risks encouraging criminal networks already destabilizing communities across Liberia. In response to the viral audio, the LDA Deputy Director for Operation Major Payne has denied all allegations, insisting that the recording is not authentic. Meanwhile, the Director General of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Anthony Sua, has suspended Chief of Operations Abraham Payne following the emergency liquidation, which threatened the release of his daughter. In a release issued Tuesday, LDA boss frowns on the alleged action of his deputy. According to LDA boss, if proving the action of his deputy undermines the integrity of the agency and compromise the fight against illicit drugs, the release added that Payne has been immediately suspended and referred to the Board of Internal Inquiry and Professional Standards for a thorough investigation. Local GSM airtime vendors in parts of Montserrat County have raised concern over what they called officers of the Liberian National Police continuous seizure of their microphones. GSM airtime vendors are individuals who are involved with selling orange alongside minis across Liberia and normally use microphones for local advertisement. The business done several Liberians due to lack of job opportunities has been a major source of income for several Liberian families. Speaking to King's FM Tuesday in Moruya, several of the mini sellers narrated their experiences on the daily basis, including alleged harassment and embarrassment from police officers. According to him, for the past weeks, while trying to do their businesses, which is the only source of income, their microphones and items are normally taken from them by police officers. The many sellers, most of whom are students, said the continued interference by state security personnel into their business will seriously affect their ability to survive and stay off the streets. Chief Justice Yemen Basi has recalled the August term legal assignments of two Circuit Court judges with a reassignment. The Fifth Judicial Circuit Court resident Judge Usman Feka was recalled from his circuit to go at the First Judicial Circuit of the Criminal Code C in Montserrat County, while First Judicial Circuit of Criminal Code C resident Judge Blamo Dixon leave his circuit and surface at the Fifth Judicial Circuit Court in Grand Cape County. Chief Justice Basi's decision was contained in separate communication dated on August 26, 2025 to the two judges. Our judicial correspondent said this is the second time the Chief Justice has recalled the August term legal assignments for judges, which were previously made by his predecessor after he assumes office as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. Health Minister Dr. Louis Kudu has called on African nations to build what he termed as stronger and more resilient health systems, urging member states of the World Health Organization African region to unite in confronting the continent's pressing health challenges. Delivering remarks at the 74th Regional Committee meeting of the WHO African region in Lusaka, Dr. Poto congratulated the newly elected WHO Regional Director for Africa. She underscored that Liberia and other member states were particularly encouraged by the alignment between the new leadership strategies and their perspective on national health agendas. Dr. Poto noted that such priority will be criticized or that will be critical in accelerating progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals, universal health coverage, and the African Union's Agenda 2063. Speaking in the capacity as acting chair of the RC 74, Dr. Poto urged the new leadership to embrace the spirit of African unity and common responsibility, warning that the continent continues to confront multifaceted challenges, including recurrent outbreaks of cholera, mpox, and other infectious diseases, coupled with long-standing gaps in health financing and service delivery. The Liberian Health Minister cautioned that a shift in the global development landscape would also affect Africa's progress in preventive health care. Meanwhile, Dr. Poto pointed to disruptions in child immunization programs, challenges in combating preventable diseases such as tuberculosis, HIV and AIDS, and malaria, and the growing struggle to secure sustainable financing for essential services. Police in Grand Bassa County have confirmed the arrest of two men in connection to the alleged murder of a motorcyclist named Ruben Samuel. Samuel, aged 23, was reportedly killed on Saturday night, August 23rd, in the God Bless You Hill community in Grand Bassa County. However, the police on Tuesday announced the apprehension of 19-year-old Matthew Wee and 22-year-old Prince Sumo, both of whom are residents of Monrovia following an intensive security operation. The local police authorities say the suspects were arrested with a black Boxer motorbike bearing the same serial number identified by the victim's family during the investigation. Meanwhile, the two men have been placed in police custody awaiting full investigation into the matter. At the same time, the victim's brother, Otello Samuel, is being questioned in connection with the case. Former President Pro Tem of the Liberian Senate, Ahmad Jala, has called on the Information Minister Jeremy McPia and Human Rights lawyer Councillor Tewin Gonglo to end their public exchanges of personal attacks and focus on substantive national issues. In a statement issued Tuesday, Jala expressed concern over the ongoing war of words between the two public figures, cautioning them that the public spark race undermining what should otherwise be constructive national dialogue. According to him, as a lifelong advocate for institutional integrity and issue-driven public service, he has observed with deep concern an ongoing exchange between Minister Jeremy Pia and Councillor Tewin Gonglo, saying that while both individuals bring with them decades of national service and earned respect, their current public spat threatens to reduce what should be a valuable national dialogue into a cycle of personal attacks. Jala acknowledged that Councillor Gonglo has raised important concerns about the role of the Ministry of Information in a democracy, citing the legacy after late Dr. Edward Kesseley, who prioritized civic education and public enlightenment, especially at the time when rebuilding public trust requires transparency, accountability, and strategic communication. However, the former Senate leader urged both of them to elevate their discourse respectfully, including all others in government and position, to rise above personal mockery and redirect the conversation of or to the heart of governance, how to be best and educate and serve the Liberian people. Grand Bassa County Senator Benson Kanfili is urging Liberian students who are studying in Uganda to stay focused and avoid challenges distracting them from their goals. Speaking at the third induction ceremony of the Liberian community in Uganda, Senator Fili shared his story of overcoming setbacks, including 2 Senate election losses, before achieving success in his political career. According to him, tough times would come and go, further encouraging them to stay focused no matter the constraint. Senator Fili at the same time donated US 500 to the Liberian leadership in Uganda and pledged an additional US 1,000, bringing his total contribution to US 1,500 aimed at boosting student activities and leadership efforts. The senator's message was an encouragement, reminding students that the determination and resilience are the key to achieving their dreams, no matter what they are. And residents of Johnsonville are expressing growing fear and concern over the government's recent migration of huge number of drug addicts at the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission for temporary rehabilitation activities. One of the residents who spoke with reporters noted that the presence of the disadvantaged youth in the community is posing negative impact. According to him, their daily routines have been disrupted since the arrival of the youth, adding that they no longer feel free to move about in search of their livelihood. Several of the Johnsonville residents have claimed witnessing group of Zocos jumping over the fences of LRRC and roaming the community at night.
Newton talk about there with the news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. And in one of our top developments, Vice President Jeremiah Cohn and Nima County's supposedly political godfather, Senator Samuel Koga, for a part ahead of the 2029 general presidential elections. Koga accuses Cohn of bad influence and unilaterally appointment of local officials. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the newsmakers. Welcome back. Let's now take our first development. The Fomon Party, that's the Congress for Democratic Change, has threatened legal action against the Liberian government over what it describes as unlawful evasion and demolition of its former national headquarters. The party's move follows strong public criticism from its political leader, who accused the administration of President Joseph Boakai of interfering in a legal process that led to the controversial evasion and demolition. Speaking on Orchid Earth and Modi, former Maritime Commissioner and Chief of Office Staff to ex-President George Weah, Eugene Namway confirmed that the CDC is preparing to take legal action against the government to ensure those who are involved in the demolition are held accountable under the law.
Belief, and this is why we're also going to sue the government, including the police, for destruction of property, for violation of privacy, and the rest. You know,
by you're also going to sue the government.
A whole separate lawsuit. We have to do it because we have to show these people that we have laws in Liberia. Whether they will violate the law is up to them. But posterity has to record that these things happened. They happened. in the full glare of the public. We saw what they did. We saw the police officers going, trying to take, they were marking women properties, trying to steal. And then these are the same people that say they found arm, ammunition, and gun in the place. And it belongs to people. Right now, they have adopted some citizens that are in jail. Tomorrow we'll be filing a writ of habeas corpus to free them. They have been tortured as I speak. And it is unfortunate that our country has gone to this level where you go and grab people just because they were present while you are carrying out an illegal invasion, because I don't want to say eviction, because that wasn't an eviction. And you grab them, and today they are torturing. You don't carry arm, man. You have to take your returns. The sheriff has to take his returns to the back to the court to say, I want to enforce this eviction and I met resistance. That's the first step. Before the court can determine what force or what support it needs. Did that happen?
Well, according to the police, they were written by the court to
I'm saying, but was it the right way? Was it the right way? Because they did not go, they did not file a return, they did not present any eviction.
Eugene with in conversation with OK Ethan Julius J. Ahead of the 2029 general and presidential elections, Nima County, Liberia, second vote reach, county political atmosphere appears uneasy as Vice President Jeremiah Cohn and Senator Samuel Kogal fought apart. Prior to that, Kogal, elected in April of this year, replaced Nimba County political godfather, the deceased Senator Prince Johnson of the Liberian Senate. Prior to the burial of Prince Johnson, traditional rituals signaling Nimba County traditional chiefs and elders' blessing of Samuel Koga, which indicates the turning over of Senator Johnson traditional title to Samuel Koga was placed. While speaking in an interview with an online TV, Koga expressed frustration in the vice president, accusing of exercising control over Nima County.
But my disappointment is, number one, that the vice president often tell me, since he got a seat as vice president, how many persons have I recommended in this government to serve in the government as presidential appointee? Zero. Every appointment in Nima County was done by him. Zero. I don't want to name names. He and I will discuss something as a brother. To implement it, you will bypass me and do different things. I don't talk on it. Because he listening to the people that gossiping to him, that Koga will fire you. But he's not looking at the time he myself became representative, what we used to do together. But people now who want to get close proximity to him, he listening to them more. That's the situation today. Look at what happened in district number 5. If my brother sincerely want to work with me, he's not listening to gossip. And we're working in harmony with respect to each other. You don't think he's supposed to call me and say, my man, the election here. Why you're thinking? Because you are the one over there. Anybody like regular man, I will declare support for that person. It's a dumb deal for me to knock my chest in the district and say, we're carrying the person. And the vice president said, no objection. The senator who came from there, the senator of the county say that the person, one party mandate will support the person. But on the contrary, that we agree on something, you deviated from it. Those of you that say that are young folks over there, if I had gone already to challenge that I will support a Gossip Mekwa by all means, or I will support Bori Badia by all means, openly declare, and he's supporting Koto, how the world will look at us. So as an elderly person, I decided to waive everything and say I will not do it. I will be neutral. My neutrality was based on endurance, but I was hurt and felt disgrace in my own district. So I'm not against him.
Nimba County Senator Samia Koga there speaking. A leaked audio recording has surfaced implicating Major Ibrahim Payne, Chief of Operation of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, in a serious case of alleged abuse of power and obstruction of justice in illegal drug-related case. On the evening of August 25, social media platforms were flooded with shares of the recording. The audio, which began circulating on social media before being confirmed as authentic by the law enforcement sources, captured a voice believed to be paid, pressuring a subordinate officer at the LDEA in Kevibur to release several drug suspects who had been detained along the Kakata Highway. Among those mentioned in the recording is a young woman identified as the LDEA chief of operations daughter who was reportedly apprehended by the LDEA office during an operation in the area. Meanwhile, in response to the viral audio, the LDEA Deputy Director for Operation, Major Payne, has denied all allegation, insisting the recording is not authentic. Abraham Payne. Let the picture here. All right, so we sincerely apologize. We cannot lay our hands on that episode. We hope to bring you that during our subsequent newscast. Well, with half an hour past the news presentation, this is a reminder you are listening to the Wednesday, August 27, 2025 edition of King's Newsroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back. Let's now bring you more developments. Health Minister Dr. Louise Otto has called on African in the nation to build what she termed a stronger and more resilient health system, urging member states of the World Health Organization Africa region to unite in confronting the continent's pressing health challenges. Delivering remarks at the 74th Regional Committee meeting of the WHO Africa region in Lusaka, Dr. Poto congratulated the newly elected WHO Regional Director for Africa. She also underscored that Liberia and other member states were particularly encouraged by the alignment between the new leadership's strategic and their respective national health agendas.
Let me start by thanking His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, and his cabinet for hosting us in Lusaka, the very beautiful capital city of Zambia, and for the meticulous preparation putting place for the RC 75. I also wish to warmly congratulate Professor Yakub Jalani on his election as the new WHO Regional Director for Africa. Your election reflects the trust and confidence that African member states have in your leadership capacity, your vision, and proven commitments to advancing public health in our region. Your manifestos, which lay out a clear and pragmatic roadmap for transforming health outcomes in Africa, is both visionary and deeply rooted in the realities we face as African countries. We are particularly happy with the alignment between your strategic priorities and the national health agendas of most, if not all, African member states. Your focus on health system resilience, particularly primary health care revitalization, emergency preparedness, equity, and global innovation resonates strongly with our collective aspirations. I strongly believe that these priorities will be critical as we strive to accelerate progress towards the sustainable development goals, including universal health coverage and the African Union Agenda 2063. As the outgoing acting chair of the RC 74, I strongly urge us all to rally behind our new regional director with a spirit of African unity and common responsibility. The challenges that confront the region, such as the ongoing cholera, mpox, and other disease outbreaks, and gaps in health finance.
Liberia Health Minister Dr. Louis Poto there speaking. Today's development, GSM airtime vendor in parts of Monserrato County have raised concern over what they call officers of the Liberia National Police continuous seizure of their Minga phones. GSM airtime vendors are individuals who are involved in selling orange and Lone Star meanings across Liberia and normally use Minga phones for local advertisement. The business is done by several Liberians due to lack of job opportunities is that has been a major source of income for several Liberian families. Speaking to King's FM Tuesday in Monrovia, several of the meeting setters narrated their experiences on a daily basis, including alleged harassment, embarrassment from police officers.
I heard people I said 2 days. I only knew you until all so far. So getting the phone. And so far last week, I guess so many of my friends there took that bear from them from there. Yeah, so now my brother saying he was in now because I also again again good up from but now he's scared to buy new up because you want to buy new up to live on edge. So many of my brothers down what side. So many of them are I'm gonna say yes, I only my behalf I'm scared for. So now you're saying only on behalf of your and just some of them cherry when you put in the classroom. So it's very easy. So it's making that scary. Yeah. So sometimes when they got the microphone, how can you give people money? How can they get it back? So then when they see me up some officer in inside boy and clear but so then you request for money. Say the idea money, when you get money, you may almost 4 pound for pay either pure lesson there you got a person must be 3 on or 2 pound like taking the president. Yeah, so we will get clear government for the inside or yeah. So before I leave you, tell us you think what the reason people say you actually use the captain? Like it's a video why you want some other people they say how they have causing noise, they say all over for your community, but almost initial point in the party, or in the local media, put the body way off.
And so, posted the same way, we have another minister. My brother, what is your name?
Chris Moruba Chion, because we need to implement it for me. We need to sponsor myself school to implement it for myself. So I have to say that because I have in the country. In fact, we are saying that because we need to implement it, but we not be like other unions, smoking jobs, attacking people to do different things to get money. Now I would choose to look for money they have.
Voices of local GSM airtime vendors there. Ahead of the news presentation is our foreign development, but let's get this development. Residents of Johnsonville are expressing growing fear and concern over the government's recent migration of a huge number of drug addicts. At the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission for temporary rehabilitation activities. One of the residents who spoke to reporters noted that presence of the disadvantaged youth in a community is posing negative impact to them. According to him, their daily routines have been disrupted since the arrival of the youth, adding that they no longer feel free to move about in search of their livelihoods.
Since the brother have been seeing them outside, they jump over the fence, and as you can see, the bikes out of the whole place in that fence. Anybody can get outside. They're not able. No, the security, the brother, they're not able. Then that's also DS security. Bring people that will be able to guard the guys. But you just bring them to an open place. That was embarrassing us. They had to go for some of them. Yesterday, I was sitting at an entertainment place here. I met more than 4 or 5 of them were sitting there. But on a daily basis, they are outside. So it gave you a hard time. It embarrassing us. So like for me, yesterday when I was even going to church, I was forced to tell one of my children to stay home because of the way in which we are living here now. So the recommendation too, government, if you say you rally for the guys, be prepared, but don't embarrass us. I am saying government, if government say they rally to change the guys, they should be prepared. They shouldn't embarrass us because we've been living here. We are now observed they kind of eye, but now we are in embarrassment. People just up and down. You pass, so you see so, you pass, so you see so. It's not being something that it's looking strange. It's looking strange. It makes some, oh, we don't go anywhere now. I go to work, I worry. So I beg government, let it work on that. Where they will just be jumping up and down. Even the slippers, the best friend, which they're giving them, they jump, they're getting outside selling it. So you can keep the kind of people here. You want harm the community. You're not helping us. You're not helping Liberia. You want to harm this country. Take the guys somewhere where you're able to maintain them, but not in a place where you will make them, other community dwellers, be embarrassed.
Voice of the resident of Johnsonville there speaking. And now away from Liberia, the head of a Malagasy king killed by French troops during a colonial war has been formally returned to Madagascar. The handover of King Toral's skull and those of 2 other members of his court took place at a ceremony at the Cultural Ministry in Paris. The skulls had been brought to France at the end of the 19th century and stored at a museum of the natural history in the French capital. It is the first use of a new law meant to expedite the return of human return from collection in France. And elsewhere, Botswana has described a public health emergency as it faces a shortage of essential medicines and medical equipment. President Duman Bokod made the announcement in a televised address on Monday, setting out a multi-million-dollar plan to rectify the supply chain involving military oversight. Managing the shortages will be highly price sensitive due to our limited office veto the nation. Well, this is how we go home on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we closed it further. Former President George Weah institutes 23-member committee for CDC New state-of-the-art national headquarters construction as the party's leadership threatens legal action against government for unlawful evasion and demolition of former national headquarters. Vice President Jeremiah Kuhn, a Nima County supposedly political godfather, Senator Samuel Koga for the part ahead of 2029 general and presidential elections. Koga accuses Kuhn of bad influence and unilateral appointment of local officials. And also, as you heard in the news, Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency Director General suspends with immediate effect. The agency's Deputy Director for Operation Abraham Payne over leak audio leaking Payne to the release of his daughter, believed to be a drug trafficker. And away from Liberia, the head of a Malagasy king killed by French troops during a colonial war has been formally returned to Madagascar. Botswana has declared a public health emergency as it faces a shortage of essential medicines and medical equipment. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters, editors, for making today's news presentation of success. Newton Topa brought us the news bulletin, and Benjamin Johnson, Sarah Control, and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.